is waiting on fries. That you don't get it? What do you mean you don't get waiting on fries?
Hopefully the customer never hears waiting on fries, but all this time on the entree and it's perfectly executed and you're
It's
like,
ready to go.
I forgot to fire the fries.
I just always use that when I forgot to put somebody's order in, and I was like, hey, I'm just waiting on the fries. It's gonna be 2 more minutes. Realistically, I come back 10 minutes with the food.
Exactly.
This episode of Waiting on Fries was recorded live at Brisket King in Pig Beach. It could get a little bit loud at times, but we've done pretty decently getting quality audio for you. Pig Beach is the host to Brisket King 2021 this year, and without a doubt, the perfect venue to house hundreds of carnivorous and rowdy individuals trying to cast their votes for the King of Brisket this year. With over 16 competitors, including our own Justin Zaytonian and Mike Hofer of Smokehouse, we were able to snag a couple of the competitors for a few minutes to dive deeper into their businesses and brisket secrets. But let's start this thing off talking to Nick of Pulkies, which is no stranger to doing things differently.
So just looking at what you brought us to taste here, you guys went a non-traditional route that doesn't look like a smoked brisket at a brisket competition. So can you tell us what you brought?
Yeah,
It's pink. Like, what is that? What am I looking at?
That's the sauce.
it's definitely non-traditional, and we're proud of it for sure. So to start with the most non-traditional, our brisket isn't smoked.
Okay.
We confit it, which means it's poached in its own fat. We don't have a smoker on hand, so the best way to keep it nice and juicy is to keep it with its own fat. So that's how we do that. And what you have here today is our version of our chopped beef, which has our brisket in it, carrots and onions, old school Passover way. And what really makes it Jewish is after it's poached, we braise it in Manischewitz wine, which, if you guys are familiar, not the best for drinking, definitely the best for braising.
Or a bar mitzvah.
Exactly. Exactly. You got to sneak it, hide it from the parents.
So
it works there.
you're kind of glossing over the little sauce that you have there, which is like the hidden gem of the dish.
Totally.
It's really good.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so the sauce on the side is our creamy red horseradish dressing. It's a ranch-based. It has some beets in it. It has horseradish, dill, just everything that makes stuff delicious.
Really good. Really good.
Definitely adds a little bit of color to it, changes it up from the browns and the blacks from every other barbecue colors that you see.
Stand out
a little bit of pink, a little bit of orange from the carrots, got to stand out here.
So
the first bite that I had when I stopped at your table was the carrot, and I dipped it in the sauce, and it was perfect.
Oh,
a little sweet,
you.
a little spicy. You get that little herbaceous from the dill.
Love that. Thank you.
Really liked it.
Yeah, it definitely brings some flavors out you normally wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I had to Google what is Jewish barbecue, and the first thing that came up was an article, and Pulkies mentioned in the article. Sure
love
enough.
that.
So that's comedic in itself. So what's Jewish barbecue?
So our PR team will be thrilled to hear that, for sure. So that we came up when you Googled us. So Jewish style barbecue.
baby.
Exactly. So it's not kosher. We're proudly Jewish, but not kosher.
And if it's kosher, it means that you're throwing brisket into the smoker, and a rabbi is standing there on deck, ready to bless it, and then it's good.
In one way or another, yeah. Or it can usually come in raw when it's already blessed. The kitchen is usually blessed. That's what makes something kosher. So, like I said, we're proudly Jewish, but not kosher. So we're inspired and influenced by a lot of Jewish cuisine. Like I said, we're braising it in Manischewitz. That's where the Jewish comes in. The carrots and onions, typical Passover dinner, that's where the Jewish comes in. And where we're more of a turkey restaurant than we are a brisket restaurant, because Southern barbecue and Jewish food, both turkey and brisket. And that's where the name Pulky actually comes from. Pulky is Jewish. It's got two meanings. It actually directly means poultry leg, but it's also like a cute way to describe chubby baby thighs, which is where our logo comes from.
That's exactly how I like my girls.
Exactly. Our thoughts exactly. So that's where the word Pulky comes from. So Pulkies directly relates to turkey. And our signature dish is our barbecue pulled turkey. It's our take on pulled pork. Obviously, we don't have the pork. So we slow roast our dark meat of the turkey leg, which is poultry leg, the pulky, in our barbecue sauce. So that's our signature dish. But, we can't say no to brisket either, which is why we're here and talking about our brisket as well.
And how long has Pulkies been around now at this point?
So it actually opened up in the middle of the pandemic. We started as a ghost kitchen in Chelsea, out the back gate of in Chelsea Market.
Wait, you opened up in the middle of the pandemic, and you're already dealing with Goldbelly?
Oh yeah,
which is kind of crazy.
We,
you don't just get thrown Goldbelly out of nowhere.
It was fast. It was a sprint from the start. So
I love the aggressive moves. During the downtime.
So we had a kitchen in Chelsea Market that was shut down because it wasn't built for delivery and takeout. So we had a kitchen, and we had a lot of people who were hungry and looking for some food. And in a brainstorming session with some of the partners in the restaurant, we kind of went down a bunch of avenues. We thought deli, but no way we'd ever compete with the Ben's and Katz's ever. Wouldn't want to touch that at all. And then we were like, there's a lot of similarities between barbecue and Jewish food. And the owner, Harris, who is also the chef behind the menu, is Jewish. And he's like, our food doesn't get enough credit. And we were like, what if we do Jewish-style barbecue? And we all kind of just blinked a couple times like, whoa, this is something here. A month later, we had the branding, and then we were open. And we were operating out of the back of Chelsea Market's gate, doing delivery and takeout, got some good press, got some people excited, and then we were reviewed in the New Yorker right around Rosh Hashanah, and that really kind of took it to the next level for us. Had the opportunity to open in DeKalb Market in downtown Brooklyn, and that's our home now, where we're serving hot food and delivery and takeout food.
That's awesome.
Let me ask you about the volume with Goldbelly, because we've had all these conversations with every business owner that a lot of them are part of Goldbelly, and they've said that the volume has increased dramatically. I've been into some of these places where I see the shipments lined up across the wall. Was that a hardship going through that? Or
So I wouldn't say it was a hardship. It was definitely a learning curve. So when the New Yorker article came out, we were getting emails like, when are you opening up in Tennessee? When are you opening up here? When are you opening up there? Which was great.
We're not yet.
Yeah, soon. Let's get through 2020 first. Yeah. But, Pulkies will be around the world soon enough, for sure. But the stopgap was definitely Goldbelly. And we reached out to them. They were like, yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. And after, refining our menu and our offering and finding the best way for our guests to enjoy our food, we launched, I'd say about a month or two ago, and the excitement came out of nowhere. Just tons of orders, and it's been great. It's been really helpful where foot traffic in restaurants isn't that high right now, especially in New York. Goldbelly has really bridged that for us, and it's a really exciting way to kind of tell our story outside of Brooklyn. And we're super stoked to be on there, and business is doing well on there. And we're excited to see the future and what's going on.
Good luck taking the Brisket Championship.
Thank you. I think we're going to need it. Some of the purists out there aren't thrilled, but, we're here to shake things up.
Eric Howard, a firefighter and partner in the Gramercy, takes a second to let us know how his brisket has been done differently. Having a bar where everyone knows your name and being a part of Friends of Firefighters, which provide free mental health, peer support, and wellness services to active and retired FDNY firefighters and their families. Let's check in with Eric.
So Gramercy Ale House is like your nice, cozy little neighborhood pub. We're on 3rd Avenue between 21st and 22nd Street, right in the heart of Gramercy. We're not a barbecue spot, but we're doing brisket today because, we're actually here to really help out Friends of Firefighters. It's a great organization that does a lot for the fire department, and we're a firefighter-owned bar. So.
With that, 5 of you band together at some point, and you said, let's open up a bar because we've got some extra time on our hands, and this is a retirement plan?
I mean, I'm a newer partner in the place. I've only been a part of it for a couple of years now, but there's 4 of us that are firefighters, and then 2 guys that are not firefighters, and it's the kind of place where you can come in and, know 10 people at the bar, and, the bartender knows your name.
It's like that nice neighborhood hangout type of place.
Exactly.
Exactly what you think about instantly is cheers.
Yeah.
Tell us about the brisket that you put together here today.
Well, since we are an Irish-themed bar, we don't call ourselves an Irish pub. We don't call ourselves a sports bar. We're just a bar.
Yeah.
Right? Just a bar.
Yeah.
But
a safe haven to go have drinks, enjoy laughs with the boys.
So we serve a ton of Guinness. So today we did a Guinness-infused brisket.
Okay.
With a Guinness and bourbon barbecue sauce. And it's going to be pretty damn delicious.
All right, sounds interesting. We're gonna definitely stack up some votes. It's crazy too because when we talk about city bars that are just bars, if you want to put it that way, or pub, whatever you want to call it, they always seem to have a theme for a different sports team. Mm-hmm. So you're a Villanova bar.
Yeah, so we do Villanova sports. We have TCU football. As far as professional sports go, we're a little bit of everybody. We do have the MLB package, so we find throughout baseball season, we can put on any game, and that's
You find someone
been
who's a
big
fan of
draw.
that team.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you pick which team you wanted it to be? Were you guys fans, or did you
It's-
let the crowd choose?
Essentially, yeah. Like our regulars, like if you're a regular and you went to, it's really hard to get a college team as like a bar rep. You know,
Yeah.
like, to get like an SEC team is almost impossible.
I would imagine that the turnout though for these games is
Oh, it's
crazy.
huge. Yeah, TCU brings us like 50 people, and they'll come and they guarantee us 50 usually. And
I was going to throw that in because we actually were lucky enough. We're a Georgia bar,
okay.
so we got a group of Georgia fans that came in religiously, and
Yeah.
now they hung a flag up and whatever. So we just let them take it. But he said,
Consider
hey,
yourself a lucky one. Georgia, that's huge.
I'll take an SEC team all day.
Yeah.
What's the craziest piece of going from working in the fire department to then saying I'm a part owner of this bar now? Like this is life changing in some aspects.
So yeah, I mean we going from the camaraderie is the same. You know, they get the same banter. Everybody busts each other's balls.
Yeah.
You know, including like across the bar to the regulars. So we kind of like make people feel like, you know, like it's a firehouse. You get that atmosphere.
Exactly.
You know, and for me it's different. Like I have a cooking background. I did a couple cooking shows, and I ended up coming into this almost as a food consultant, and then just stayed on as a part owner.
Now
You gotta
cooking.
remember, firefighters are cooks, man.
Yeah. Oh
They be
yeah.
cooking back there.
My brother's White Plains Fire Department, and all the time he said you should see like what it's like when you have to cook for every single person in the house. Like you might have that duty that day.
Yeah.
And like some guys are great at cooking, and then other guys are just like, sloppy joes again, because that's what
Is
they're
that where the
producing.
brisket came from? Cooking at the firehouse?
Yeah, I mean, so Aaron, one of the other guys here, he's not a partner at the bar, but he's a firefighter in the same firehouse as me. He brought a smoker to the firehouse a few years back. It didn't go over well. Guys were like, "We deal with enough smoke. Why the hell do we want to eat smoked food?" And then they were, just typical firehouse ball busting. But
Craziest fire that you've seen?
I mean, every fire has its own like different ways that it can be dangerous or crazy. I mean, you can go into any building and it could go as it should by the book. You know, you go in, you put the fire out, make no one gets hurt, or things can get bad and people get hurt, and those what we try not to have happen.
People's like misconception too is that you walk in, you can still see through your mask, when reality is you can't see anything, and you're just feeling each other as you're walking around, probably looking at the plans ahead of time to see what walls are where.
You try to like know the buildings in your area that you're responsible for, and you try to you look at it as you're walking up to the building and say, okay, all right, there's a fire escape in the front. It means there's 4 apartments per floor usually, and like different little nuances that we learn in the fire academy. And then when you get assigned to a firehouse, the senior members in that house, as you come up, will teach you different things about the neighborhood that you're responsible for, and things like that.
If your brisket takes the W, are you bringing the belt back to the house, or are you taking the belt back to the Gramercy?
It's probably gonna go back to the bar.
There you go. With Avellino Family BBQ out of Stamford, Connecticut, Leland teaches us a bit about guerrilla business tactics, finding low overhead ways to serve the community, and a bit of his barbecue history involving dinosaur barbecue. He's got the story, though.
Got my first restaurant job when I was 9 years old.
9
My uncle's
years old.
restaurant,
I don't even think that's legal.
It's so illegal. I used to bust tables with a little square plastic tray in front of me because I couldn't put the other one over my shoulder. And so I was like, I was like 12, and the guy's like, "All right, stop being a pussy. Put the tray over your shoulder now. You can carry it like a man now."
Learn now.
Yeah.
Do something.
Exactly.
So, but your first introduction here, though, in the serious aspect of doing culinary things, though, was kind of with barbecue.
So no, I was a fine dining chef for probably 15 years.
What restaurants did you work at?
So I was in the city. I worked a little bit at Per Se.
Okay, very
I
nice.
worked a little bit with John George at Spice
yeah.
Market. And then locally in Fairfield County, I was a chef at V Wine Bar for probably 5 years in Southport. And then I worked in Match Restaurant for Matt Storch for a little while. And then I got tapped to open a restaurant called Bank House. I don't know if you guys know a Bank House in Norwalk. It's a barbecue and crab restaurant. So that kind of turned me to the barbecue world. My really good friend who's working with me today, his name is Franz. He was a chef at Bobby Q's. I don't know if you know Bobby Q's in Westport, but he was the executive chef there. So when I was running the wine bar, I just popped into his kitchen and I was like feeling and touching all his stuff, and I was like, wow, this is really cool stuff. And it was totally opposite end of the spectrum for me. And I just kind of got into it, and I was playing around in his walk-ins and just playing with his shit, and it was really fun. And so an opportunity came to join barbecue restaurant, and I did it, and I loved it, and I started developing them, and ended up with Dinosaur fortuitously. Ended up with Dinosaur for like 8.5 years. I was there.
This is with Dinosaur in Stanford.
No, this is
location,
Dinosaur
or?
corporate. So I was a corporate executive chef and culinary partner. So I did training. I rolled out menus. I was John's partner when it came to creating culinary dishes and things like that. So we really kind of hit all the points. And I started off as a kitchen manager, moved to a director, and then I immediately got on the corporate team. And then after about 4 years, I became a partner with the company. So I was an ownership stake in the company. Then I moved to Stanford Restaurant, which was kind of where I started in 2012.
Full circle.
Moved back there, my wife had a couple kids, and she was like, "This shit in the road is not happening anymore. Like, I need you home with these kids." So I took over Stanford. COVID hits, and it's like, what am I going to do? We closed the restaurant.
Hard decisions were made.
Very, very bored. So I bought a pit, 500-gallon offset stick burner, and we released a menu one week, and it was like, wow, holy shit! It was just like whole family, neighbors, and some people in our mom's group, and it was like everybody ordered. So holy shit, this is fun. Next week we tripled the amount of orders, and we just keep growing from there. And about 3 months ago, the health department, Stanford Health Department, showed up in our driveway where we were cooking, and they were like, I know the sanitarian, like he was my guy in Stanford. He looks at me, he's like, "Come on, what are we doing here?" I was like, "I got to feed my family, right? What are we going to do?" So he let me go. He said, this has got to stop. You can't do it. So I ended up at a corporate kitchen in Stanford called On the Mark Catered Events. And I've been there for like 4 months. And,
essentially a commissary kitchen?
It's essentially a commissary kitchen. We rent out a table, a rack in the walk-in, and a rack in dry storage.
Awesome.
And then we recently have crafted a deal to move to Norwalk to a kind of a little bit of area we can have a little bit more tables, and we can go 4 days a week, and we can actually, if it rains, we can still serve, and it's people can actually come sit down, which is I think that time of year where people are wanting to do that. Yeah. They're not as scared anymore, so I think it'll work out pretty well for us.
I mean, we've had this conversation with so many different owners of businesses, and these pivots that we have to go through to figure out how to make things work and how to make things meet. You have to make serious decisions. Are we shutting down our restaurant completely and moving into something else, or are we figuring out how to do the quote-unquote something else? You did that. You figured out how to essentially craft a menu that was kind of going out a few times a week, or at least that's what it's showing now.
Yeah. And we were able to hit it at a really nice angle, and my wife loves this. She's my partner, and she loves the idea. Like, we've been talking about opening a restaurant since our first date, and she hated the idea of like, holy shit, all this money, they all close, and she was very financially smart, which I'm not.
Well,
she
you
was
know
like,
overhead.
Well,
right, that's the thing.
None of us are financially smart, otherwise we wouldn't be in a restaurant.
That's the deal. I mean we're masochists, right? We do this for a living. We must hate ourselves, right? So we looked at the whole thing, and I was like, wow, we can drop a menu on Tuesday, and it's all pre-orders. So if nobody orders, cool. If everybody orders, we know exactly how many pounds of brisket.
There's no waste.
Like I have in my pocket now, I know what my Saturday is going to look like already. Every time somebody orders, my phone vibrates. Every time. And
great.
we were able to, cut the ordering off at midday on Thursday. I call the market. I call my old contacts and purveyors from when I was with Dino, and I just make deals and say, hey, I'm coming down for this. I'm coming down for that.
This also, this breeds a new way to even carry out what you're doing, because you could be doing pop-ups all over the U.S. at some point,
everywhere,
and where there's demand for it, you could just show up, take some of these orders, or
Yep.
even hire a couple guys to run a separate kitchen down there that you could eventually trust.
Our on the horizon for us is a 4-wall restaurant, very small, very specialized in the craft barbecue that we do, and I have a real hard-on for the drive-through, man. I want drive-through barbecue. Like I want Fairfield County drive-through barbecue, like real bad. And I got a couple.
That's so aggressive in my mind. Well, I guess it's if you can get it like a pre-order type of thing where it's like quick enough where you can get everybody through. Like I love the concept. I'm just like wrapping around my operation.
Well, it's got to be driven by throughput. Part of the thing I did at Dinosaur was I looked at how order comes in. How do we execute that order with perfection, with precision, and with quick? It's got to be throughput. It's got to get through. And drive-through barbecue. You're looking at people like the off exit 9, right? That McDonald's does almost $15 million a year in sales. the Chick-fil-A in Norwalk is going to do $20 million a year.
I've driven by
That's
it.
insanity.
And there's been a crazy line just blocking the traffic on the actual road that's right there.
It's nuts. So where I'm looking at okay, there's definitely a space where we can find, okay, we're gonna do the throughput right. We're gonna get these people in and out fast. Look at the operations, like to your point, but really be able to execute that solid consistent barbecue. That's the thing. Consistently great barbecue. If we can't do it, we're not going to do it.
Yep.
But as long as we can execute it, which we've proven for a decade now, I've proven that we can do consistently good barbecue, which we can. And what breeds that is the business. More people come, it's easier to do it.
Yep.
It's easier to move it through. It's easier to get it good.
Leland, tell me this before we let you go. What'd you do with your brisket today?
So my brisket today is it's a super prime brisket out of Washougal Farms, out of Oregon. We have a very simple rub: salt, pepper, toasted coriander and cumin, and like the tiniest little bit of granulated garlic, and that's it. We rubbed it. I was over with Billy at Hometown Barbecue, and I just we cooked over there, which was really kind of an honor.
It's kind of nice to be able to use Billy's smokers.
Honor for me to tap him, and he was like, "Yeah, please come on, whatever you need." It was, and his team there is ridiculously. I mean, it was like walking into my own house. Whatever you need, we can do for you. They gave me the keys. Stay all night. Do whatever you want. Drinks are over here. Bath. Whatever you need. It was really. It was a dream to be able to get in his kitchen and use his equipment and eat his food. We had all the money we spent this weekend was in his restaurants, which worked out really well.
Blue Smokes, Brett Lungsford, is a purist. He sticks to his roots and trusts the process when it comes to cooking and has been on an adventure with USHG for years. Tell us, Brett.
I started in 2013 after graduating culinary school. I joined Gramercy Tavern, worked there for about 2.5 years, and then became an opening member of the Untitled team when Mike Anthony and some other Gramercy cooks opened that location at the new Whitney American Museum.
So you actually know a couple of my buddies from Manhattan, Ethan Bensall and Evan Tessler?
Oh yeah. We're both friends from Gramercy Tavern and then part of the opening team at Untitled. I actually just had dinner with Ethan at another one of our restaurants, Intersect by Lexus as well.
Yeah, I actually saw that. Yeah.
What goes into being part of an opening team? I mean, that's it's not your first restaurant. It's like another concept. It's another restaurant going out there. How many things can you remember at once?
Well, the biggest thing I think for any time you open up anything new, it's about being adaptable. Like every day, you could be on one station. That station might not even be there the next day. It could be completely different. The dish you might have learned, guess what? New dish, it's gone. Scrapping it, trying something new. It's all about being able to duck and weave and dodge and find out what's next.
Well, that's just analytics and saying this dish doesn't perform well, or maybe it takes too long to produce and we have to scrap it.
Absolutely.
And then same with the different areas of a restaurant that are put together newly. Mm-hmm. You might realize maybe there's some bottlenecks where there shouldn't be bottlenecks, and then you say, oh shit, we have to fix this and flip it around and make it work. Tell me, we're out here right now. You're gunning to take this competition with the brisket. What'd you do for your brisket today?
Our brisket at Blue Smoke right now, we keep it as simple and pure as possible. I'm trying to keep it as honest in Texas as I can. I was raised in Texas. My daddy's born and raised Texas as well, so I'm trying to do respect to that.
There's a lot of pride riding on that.
Oh yeah, I got the Lone Star tattooed on my right arm. I got I got to respect where I can. So it is salt and pepper. That is our rub, and we use hickory wood. It's a nice hardy wood that the brisket can really stand up to it. Low and slow for about 16 hours overnight, and that's just it. And we're serving with a little bit of what we're calling Texas candy, which is a sweetened jalapeno pickle.
Very nice. Definitely candy like in that pickle.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what I will say, that Justin came back over to our tent and he said, geez, this is good. He said, this is good. So there's a lot of contenders out here. Obviously, there's a lot of competition out here at Pig Beach today, and is this the first year you've actually competed here?
This is my first type of barbecue competition I've ever been a part of.
Wow.
In fact, I know Blue Smoke actually competed and won in the 2016 Brisket King competition. So I'm back trying to reclaim the throne, as it were, Daenerys Targaryen coming over here to take over Westeros.
There you go.
And also, kind of establish myself in the barbecue world.
If I read correctly, you started in Outback Steakhouse?
That's right. Well, Sonic Drive-In actually originally, but absolutely.
So that's where I started my career as well.
Oh, at Outback?
It's Outback Steakhouse. I was
nice.
Curbside to go.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's how I started. And I must have liked it enough to stay in the restaurant.
Yeah, I actually did for about 6 years. I was front of house, and I dabbled in the back house a little bit. And that was honestly my first line cook job was cooking at Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah, looking through your career documents, you've done a lot of bouncing back and forth between front house and back house. It's something you don't see a lot.
Yeah.
Why did you make that choice to stick to the back after you've experienced the front of house life?
Well, front of house was there for me, especially during college, because the hours were more flexible. I did a lot of music, theater, and things like that in college, and that's what I went for school for. But after that, I decided that I really wanted to make the jump, because food has always called me. It's always something I've done. I grew up grilling and smoking chickens in the backyard with my dad growing up, or cooking gumbo with my granny in her kitchen. So food has always just spoken to me, and I really wanted to make that leap and make it a professional career.
It's funny because throughout this whole podcast, everybody that we always talk to, they always refer and pull things back to their roots. And you just said it yourself. Like, these are the things that you remember, and these are the things that you kind of stay true to. What do you see out here, what other people are doing with their briskets that maybe raises your eyebrow a little bit and you say, oh, that's unique, or oh, that's interesting. Maybe we should look at maybe trying to infuse something for the next year going forward?
I'm really liking this brisket bonita tacos that they're getting done right now. That looks to be a fan favorite for sure today.
They got a line.
Oh, out the door. How can you not like tacos? I mean, I actually made some brisket bonita tacos for family meal one day, and it's going to be running as a special for sure coming up. It's so good. It's definitely a trendy taco right now. Everyone's losing their minds over it. Yep. You know, I think that food from the home really plays a certain note in people's hearts, especially after like a year we just had. I think people are looking for comfort and love anywhere they can find it, and you know, there's not a better place to find love and comfort than a big plate of food.
How'd you find Blue Smoke pivoting through the pandemic and figuring out how to stay alive as, you know, all these restaurants did?
Yeah, so Blue Smoke opened in 2002 at our 27th Street Flatiron location with a jazz standard underneath. And unfortunately, we did have to close down this year due to COVID, and so we closed our flagship store after, at that point, it was 18 years. We just had our 19th anniversary, but we're still alive down in Battery Park City. We opened back up for curbside and takeout only in June of 2020, and we've been doing that until we were allowed to do some patio dining, and then we opened indoor until that was taken away. And as about a month now, we have now been reopened now for indoor-outdoor dining.
And it seems too, you know, with Connecticut just announcing that they're opening up more doors here too, that New York should kind of be following, I'm sure, and we kind of get back to some type of normalcy.
Yeah, I think that the more that people stand strong with protocols, wearing masks, getting the vaccine, we'll be able to make those moves, getting normalcy faster rather than later. With New York, you got to be very careful. It's such a dense populated area, and there's only so many spots for hospitalization, so you got to be really careful. We don't want to have a repeat of what happened in the original outbreak of COVID with refrigerated trucks literally outside, with unspeakable death and sadness everywhere. So we got to be careful. But I do think that there's a fresh breeze coming in with this spring, and hopefully by midsummer we'll really start to see some changes in the city.
How great was that the first day to see people back in the restaurant? You walk in, there's actually someone sitting at a table.
Yeah. It honestly was a little weird. It was incredible.
We were saying it a lot at USC. How good did it feel to put food on plates again?
That's really what it is. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, after a while, like literally putting food inside of like a cardboard box or, a compostable box is, it's a little soul sucking after a while because as a chef, you really, that feedback is so important, and being able to see people take that bite of food and do that slow head nod up and down of approval really means something. And just hearing like the symphony of shakers, of cocktails being made, or like forks and knives scraping on a plate is really a sound that only you can get in a restaurant.
It's bus tub.
It's my favorite sound in the world.
Yeah, it's called
scraping bus tubs.
That's it. Yeah. It's called restaurant ambiance. You can listen to it on YouTube. There's a 24-hour loop that you can just do. It puts you to sleep.
Oh, that's my ASMR channel. Absolutely, every night.
This handsome devil, Ed Randolph, is a sweetheart. Don't let their confidence fool you, as Ed keeps no secrets when it comes to his barbecue or his fire. See if you can keep up, and if you're in Newburgh, New York, you're going to want to put an order through. Newburgh's a crazy place.
Yeah.
It's big. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
At some point, it was like one of the most dangerous places in the U.S. or New York, maybe.
I think it still might be. But I can tell you, I've been on the road since 2012. We travel from South Beach to Vermont. I go as far west as Tennessee. Done a couple things in Los Angeles, but I don't travel out there anymore because it's painful. For me, I grew up in the Hudson Valley. I needed a place to find home and call home. So for the past 2 years, 3 years, I've been trying to find a location. I went through 7 different locations, and I mean as close to, right now as we're talking, sitting across from somebody, and as he's getting ready to sign the contracts, his buddy calls him and says, listen, I'll buy your building. And I literally lost it. So for me, it was finding a place. I had a municipality who did not want to change the zoning on a building that was vacant for 20 years, so I couldn't do it. The city of Newburgh has been absolutely a great deal for me, and to have your municipality behind you, it's, people ask me what it's like to open up during a pandemic. I don't know if I would open up any other time. It was great to have the community support. We were able to employ 5 or 6 small businesses who were out of work. We're able to employ 14 people who were unemployed. So it's, for me, it's, sometimes I get choked up about it because it's more pressure for me making sure I don't let them down. I had people who really busted their butts to make sure we could open during a pandemic, and now it's, I got to make sure my food is pretty good. Otherwise, I let everybody down and my place goes vacant again.
That's
We
every
got a theme
great
today
owner's
with,
idea, and that is a theme.
Municipalities working with everybody.
Correct. Now, what'd you do with your brisket today?
Today we did the Brisket Trinity. So our name's Handsome Devil, right? You think we're pretty cocky and brash. My daughter actually named the company, but we are a pretty confident group. So when I called around and asked some of my buddies what they're making, some of them said we're making brisket. Some said we're going to make a pastrami. Somebody said we're going to make a specialty item. So we said, all right, we're going to make all three. So we made a brisket slider, which is a double R ranch 16-hour smoked brisket. We cook on a mill scale offset 1,000-gallon tank, and we top that with a piece of our homemade cured pastrami. It's actually a really short cure pastrami that we've hit a recipe that works pretty well for us.
How long is the cure? You call it a short cure?
That actually, the cure actually only is a 3-day cure on it, where most pastramis are like almost 2 weeks.
Yep.
The alternative to that is it's got to cook for a lot longer. So that's almost a 20-hour. So I've now been awake, I think, for like 32 hours. I don't know.
I followed you late last night with the rum and the cookies.
Yeah, so that's the time you can get like the most content from me online, is because that's I'm online. I'm just getting giddy. So I'm out there dancing next to the smoker and I'm doing everything else. First song I put on is like Beastie Boys' "No Sleep Till Brooklyn." I'm like, what's the chance of that happening? And I'm loading the smoker. Of course, there's no sleep. And then we took all of our brisket trimmings, and instead of throwing them out, man, we find a way to reuse it. So we actually made a Texas hot link sausage out of our brisket trimmings today as well.
Wow.
So we did that. And at the restaurant, we'll take the fat from the brisket, we'll render it down, and we run our fryers with it. So it's a beef fat,
Very nice.
beef fat fryer. Most people, remember back in the 70s and 80s. Maybe I'm aging myself, but everybody loved McDonald's, right? Had the best fries ever. They used to run beef fat in their fryers. Yep. So we run it now in ours, and I can probably tell you I'm getting about 92 to 95% use of my brisket, which you guys know in the barbecue world is amazing. So you got to find a way to use it, because things cost so much money. You just can't throw them in the garbage.
What are some of the higher margin items maybe on your menu though, typically?
The higher margin items on the menu is going to be a brisket. Ribs are up there now. They're going, and believe it or not, damn chicken wings. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. Chicken wings went up to like $3.40 a pound for Super Bowl.
That's a good price right now.
And I'm like, all right, they're going to come back down. And they've only gone up.
They went up.
I'm like, how is the chicken? I'm buying 4-pound full chickens for $1 a pound, and the damn wings on them are costing me $3.60 a pound.
We hit last week $4.10 a pound. And what are you? This is crazy.
It's unbelievable. I'm like, it's a chicken.
And of course, we sell the most. It's like our top selling appetizer.
It is. People come in and they see it. And now we were lucky. We had one of these social media influencers. They come in there and they're like, "Oh, your dry rub wing's good." I was like, "Please don't post this. Please don't. And he did. And literally, it was like 120 pounds of wings went out the next day. And I'm like, all right, might as well just set $100 bills on fire in my wallet, because it was been the same thing.
How do you differentiate yourself in a world of barbecue out here, though, too? There's so many things that are similar across the board with all barbecue, and we've heard all day a lot of the seasonings have been very similar. Maybe the wood changes a little bit, but what makes you you?
That's a very good question. For me, it's just me always trying to strive for that perfection. Everybody says, they call it to be like, "Oh, you're a pit master." I said, listen, I haven't mastered anything. I didn't make fire. I didn't make barbecue. I'm always intrigued by every single day I go out there and fire that smoker up. My wood's different, temperature's different, humidity's different, my meat's different. And it's important for me to make sure that if I got 24 briskets on my smoker, if you come in to eat, you don't know if your slice is coming from brisket number 1 or brisket number 24. Yep. So I learned a very long time ago, keep everything as simple as possible, and I'll tell you right now, I use salt and pepper on my briskets. That's all I do with it. It's a 16 mesh grade. It's a kosher salt. It's typical brisket that you're gonna find in Texas.
I honestly think we're being lied to today, because every single person has said, "No, just salt and pepper, nothing else," but they all taste drastically different. So where's the lie here? The secret sauce.
The lie comes in building your fire, and I will tell you right now. Without me going to jail, I am an arsonist. I can read a fire, I can see a fire. I've learned from some of the greats of really understanding how my channel logs work in my fire, where your fire source is coming from, how to maintain it, how to slow it, how will you pick up a log, and if it's going to give me 5 degrees or 10 degrees, and maintaining. I mean, you guys know everything of barbecue is time and temperature. Yep. So if all of a sudden my mill scale is running from 265 and drops to 250, I need to get that thing back up there. If I put too big of a piece in there, it could spike to 300. How long is it going to run? Don't know. So to be able to do it, and I literally spent years of just working over. I own 13 different smokers, from the pellets to the ceramics to the offsets, and I literally think that it's just learning the craft and being really humble, man. There's a lot of people out there from you guys. I mean, I could come spend a night with you guys and probably learn something that I didn't realize that I'm doing wrong. And it's like, you know what? Shoot, I should be doing this.
That's the biggest thing we picked up. It's like it's a community thing. It's like we talk all the time.
It is.
Something out. You get a little trick here, a trick there.
And I have no problem. You guys want to come up one night and do a smoke with me? That's fine. I give everybody, people like, I've been blessed to write a couple cookbooks. And they're like, oh, the mac and cheese recipe, is that really? Yeah. That's the same when we serve at the restaurant. Go make it. Do better than me. You know what? Take it and you make gazillions of dollars. I'll be happy if you do it because maybe I'm doing something wrong. But it's all love and family. And we're not competition. We're all doing the same thing.
Correct.
I always like to say there's enough meat on the rib bone for all of us to get a little taste, right?
There you go.
So why don't we all do it and all support each other? You don't have to hate your barbecue to like mine, and you don't have to hate mine to like yours.
300%.
Right?
Wise words.
I live in Brewster, which is not too far.
Not at all.
I'm gonna be hitting over there pretty soon.
Please let me know when you come, man. I like to do it. If you want to even spend one night watching that meal scale for me, I'll leave you the instructions and I'll go to bed.
Juicy Lucy out of Staten Island was last year's Brisket King winner. Pivoting was the movement of 2020, and Richie Holmes' story is that to a T. From converting from barbecue to Italian food in the pandemic, to buying property behind the business, to open up a drive-in movie theater, Richie moves fast and isn't afraid of trying new things.
So you guys were or are the reigning champs. You won in 2019, correct?
Correct. There was no Brisket King last year because of the pandemic, so
Yeah.
I guess you can say we're the reigning champs.
So you can count 2020 as a win for you too, then.
Pardon me?
You can just count 2020 as a win for you too, and just carry it over.
So we're two-time defending champs.
Still the reigning champs, exactly.
That's actually a funny loophole now that you think about it, too. But the thing is, you were getting ready to come back into it the next year and say, we got to defend the title, and you had a whole year off.
Yes.
Did you slip off your game at that point?
So, people, you got to realize, so we have a place in Staten Island. Staten Island really isn't indigenous to barbecue. So when we opened up, we had 2.5, 3-hour waits to get into the place. That's July of 2019. We won the Brisket King before we even opened. We opened up in July of 2019. We won the Brisket King in April of 2019.
It's a good bragging rate to walk into.
Cool,
right?
100%. It's pretty cool. And then the pandemic hit in December, January, 6 months later. So we had to basically restructure everything. I basically shut my place down from March till June because I didn't want my employees or my staff or my customers, for that matter, anybody to get, God forbid, to get sick.
Yeah.
So we just kind of shut it down. In June of last year, we reopened. I bought the property behind my restaurant, and I turned it into a drive-in movie theater. So
awesome.
we were serving barbecue right out from my restaurant into the, we had an 85-car parking lot that we were showing one movie a night. So that kind of saved the place, if you will, But you had to pivot, you had to do something different.
Pivot was the word of
The
2020,
year of the pivots.
right?
Yep.
2020, that's the new word.
We definitely learned that word a bunch of times.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have an entrepreneurial mind, period, if you decided to do something as crazy as open up a drive-in movie theater by buying the piece of land behind you.
Yeah.
That's a way to go.
Without COVID, I wouldn't have had the opportunity. State owned it. It was
Or
all demolished
thought
by
about
Hurricane Sandy. Well, Hurricane Sandy. So there was houses behind my restaurant at one time. Hurricane Sandy washed them away. So the state, part of the buyback program, bought all those lots and bought the property from all those homeowners, never to be turned into homes again. So 2 years ago when I bought my business, I looked into maybe using that as a parking lot. And they weren't really amenable to it. They wanted to bring it back to nature. They wanted it to be like a park type of thing. So when COVID started, I went to my local congressman who's a friend, and I said, listen, would there be any opportunity for me to maybe to get these lots to help my business? And they really wanted Staten Island. They really wanted business to start to work again.
Of course.
He says, not only you're gonna be able to park, but I'm gonna be able to get them to buy them. I said, if I buy them, then I'll put up a drive-in movie theater. He goes, you put up a drive-in movie theater, I'll get you the contracts in a week. Within 5 days, I had the contracts to buy the property, and we had the screen up, and we got approved by the Motion Picture Association. It was really wild stuff.
Wow.
It's so nice when the community and the businesses get
actually works
together
with you.
and
it wouldn't have happened. Wouldn't have happened otherwise. So it was really, really, timing in life is everything. But that worked out well for us.
It's funny, doing the podcast so often, and we have all these conversations with everybody that own businesses. They go, the community never lets us do anything. And here you are, where they gave you the golden platter pretty much
Like
to
the
put this
complete
together.
opposite story.
Yes.
So-
Well, we have a 65-person staff. We have a large staff.
Huge.
So yeah, we have a pretty big operation out there. So a lot of people rely on us, as does the community. So they were really when the pandemic first hit, we were doing a lot of charity and donations because we're around a hospital. Staten Island Hospital is 3 blocks away from us. So we were just sending food over there. So everybody we all rallied around each other. Staten Island, between Sandy and all this other stuff, they really do some good. I mean, everybody makes fun of Staten Island because there's a lot of jerk-offs on Staten Island, but the good people out there really, really are good people. So
Of course, between all stereotypes, there's always some truth and also some fallacies,
everywhere. Doesn't
right?
matter. In Brooklyn, you could be from Staten Island, you could be from Long Island. There's going to be nasty people, there's going to be nice people.
So tell me this, though, because this is super interesting to me. You were doing barbecue and then pivoted into doing Italian food.
You heard about this. Okay, so
Of course we heard about this.
Did your homework on me. Yeah, so my property is a beachfront property. Okay, so anybody who knows a beachfront property, you really don't do that. You don't thrive quite as much. November, December, January, February. These chillier months, people, unless they're coming to your place, there is no malls down there or anything like that. It's not like that there's an affluent area down there. So I had said, I think that in order to try to do something again to pivot, I'm going to do something I'll diversify a little bit more because, I'm a fat Italian guy. And we wound up selling out our Italian. We did it for 4 weeks. We wound up selling out all of our Italian food Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every day that we did it out there, and it went over very, very well. To the point where people were like, "Oh my God, you should do like a show and teach everybody your recipes." And I was like, "I'm a barbecue guy, but I appreciate it."
That's kind of crazy too, but also it's a high margin business to be
Listen
in.
to me, barbecue is a low margin business.
Yeah.
Italian food is the other end of the spectrum.
I always say that to my partner. I said, these pizza guys, these pasta guys, they're cheating. They get the cheapest products and the nice
and your lines
price
at the
points.
door. Your lines at the door.
Well, listen, we hope you defend the title tonight. We're going to see what happens in a couple hours, of course.
Appreciate that.
I know this guy wants Smokehouse, but you were sitting separately here, all
It's
right?
all good. That's it.
Yeah,
It's all good.
It's all good. I wish everybody.
I came here for the other brisket.
There you go.
Now, listen, I want to taste everybody's brisket. I'm a fat guy, and I love everything out there. So I really want to. I'm just happy that we're all out in the world all over again.
We're all finally
I wanna
able to
see
be able to
everybody
get
do
together.
well, and whoever wins at the end of the day.
Sure enough, Juicy Lucy wound up keeping the title of Brisket King and now hold the 2019 and 2021 title. You may catch him bragging, though, about holding the title for 3 years now since 2020 was a leap year. Enjoy learning about the business of our favorite businesses? Find some more episodes below with awesome stories. They're all labeled on the record. Own or manage a restaurant yourself? The Waiting on Fries releases tackle real issues you go through in your restaurants daily.